Western art history. Rational and clear neoclassicism. Representative artists of neoclassicism architecture. Since the Renaissance, European nations have held a deep admiration for ancient cultures. By the mid-18th century, archaeological excavations of ancient Roman cities reignited interest in classical aesthetics. Through the study of these ruins, scholars rediscovered a timeless beauty rooted in simplicity, proportion, and harmonious design. Subsequent explorations of Greek ruins revealed notable distinctions between Greek and Roman architectural styles. Neoclassical architecture was popular in several European countries from the 1860s to the end of the 19th century. The architectural theory of this era brought a spirit of rationality into architecture, not in terms of classical proportions or geometric clarity, but in the natural and practical function of buildings. Every architectural structure was expected to have a justifiable reason for its existence. As a result, the spatial arrangements and forms of neoclassical architecture were imbued with a sense of moral value. Public and monumental buildings such as parliaments, courthouses, banks, exchanges, museums, and theaters were the main embodiments of neoclassical design. France became a key center of this movement, with notable landmarks including the Panthéon 1755 to 1792, the Arc de Triomphe 1808 to 1836, and La Madeleine Church 1806 to 1842. Outside of France, other iconic works included the British Museum 1823 to 1829 in London, Berlin's Schauspielhaus 1818 to 1821, in the United States Capitol 1793 to 1867. One of the leading figures of French neoclassical architecture was Jacques-Germain Soufflot. Jacques-Germain Soufflot, 1713 to 1780, France. The French Panthéon is a representative example of French neoclassical architecture and one of the earliest models of the style. The architect Soufflot is recognized as a leading figure in neoclassical design. The Temple of the Sages is located in the renowned Latin Quarter, a district rich in humanistic tradition. To its right stands the library and the Sorbonne Law School. To the left is the District 5 City Hall. Behind it are the prestigious Lycée Henry IV and the distinctive Church of Saint-Étienne-du-Mont. The grand structure resembles the Pantheon of ancient Greece or Rome. With its refined neoclassical form, it radiates a sense of solemnity and sacredness, making it one of the most iconic and unique monuments in Paris. Soufflot was a key advocate of the classical revival style in the 18th century. When he served as an architect in Lyon in 1738, he opposed the ornate and intricate Rococo style that was popular at the time. His expansion project for the Hôtel Dieu, initiated in 1741, was highly praised by his contemporaries. The Paris Pantheon was originally commissioned by King Louis XV of France. In 1744, after recovering from a serious illness in Metz, northern France, Louis XV believed that his recovery was thanks to the blessing of Saint Genevieve. In gratitude, he vowed to build a grand temple in her honor. He entrusted the project to the royal architect, the Marquis of Moroni, who in turn appointed Soufflot as deputy to take charge of the design. In 1754, Soufflot began designing what would become the Church of Saint-Geneviève in Paris. His concept fused the lightness of Gothic architecture with the solemnity and clarity of classical design. The church's plan followed the shape of a Greek cross with a grand facade resembling an ancient temple. The dome, though initially criticized for structural instability, was later reinforced. Its design was modeled after the Roman Pantheon, while the vault followed the style of Donato Bramante, the influential Italian Renaissance architect. The reference to the Bramante style became synonymous with this new form of architectural expression. The entire structure of the Pantheon was based on the Greek cross. The central dome rises to a height of 83 meters and is topped with a lantern tower. The dome is composed of 3 nested hemispheres. The building measures 100 meters in length, 84 meters in width, and 83 meters in height. Its design was considered bold for its time, using thick columns, thin walls, and a vast amount of natural light from the upper windows. The interior space is both grand and elegant, supported by finely carved columns. The central nave is separated from the side aisles by magnificent Corinthian columns, each standing 19 meters tall. At the front of the building stands a majestic portico formed by 22 massive columns, supporting a triangular pediment. reminiscent of ancient Greek temples. Appearing for the first time in Paris, the frieze above the entrance depicts a relief showing the French goddess of liberty bestowing laurels upon the great figures of the nation. The foundation of the church was laid in 1758. After the death of architect Soufflot, the construction was continued and completed in 1789 by his student, Jean-Baptiste Rondelet. When the building was finished coinciding with the early stages of the French Revolution, the revolutionary government repurposed the church as a temple of the nation to honor great French citizens. Later, under Emperor Napoleon, the building was temporarily restored to its original function as a church. However, by 1885, it was officially designated as the Temple of the Sages Panthéon. During the Revolution, due to the abolition of religion, the Church of Saint-Geneviève was secularized and transformed into this memorial temple. At that time, the windows on both sides were sealed with walls. Many decorative elements were removed, and the original brightness of the interior was significantly reduced, resulting in a somber and dimly lit atmosphere. One of Soufflot's assistants, Le Hondelet, later created a three-dimensional architectural model of the building, which he sectioned to reveal the structural layout of the interior space. This dynamic architectural model of the Panthéon can still be viewed today on the Columbia University website in the United States. The Temple of the Sages is designed with a massive central dome as the focal point of the entire structure. This grand dome is encircled by a series of slender columns, creating a majestic and harmonious effect. The building's interior is symmetrically structured with four winged galleries, forming a Greek cross at the center beneath the dome, for massive pillars each weighing approximately 10,000 metric tons support the full weight of the dome. Beneath this solemn and sacred space, a Foucault pendulum is suspended, emphasizing the vast and contemplative atmosphere of the central hall. The walls along the surrounding corridors are adorned with magnificent murals. In the corners of the halls are various statues of famous French figures and memorials commemorating military achievements. Below, in the crypt, rest the remains of individuals who have made significant contributions to France or to humanity. The burial space is organized into a four-way corridor supported by orderly arched vaults, serving as the final resting place for the nation's greatest minds. Meanwhile, Napoleon commissioned architect Père-Alexandre Barthélemy Vignon, 1763 to 1828, to design the temple to the glory of the Great Army, which is now known as the famous Church of La Madeleine. This structure is regarded as the most prominent and largest example of Greek temple-style architecture in France. King Louis XVIII later converted the building into a church. During the July Monarchy, it served as a memorial hall dedicated to national reconciliation and reflection on the Revolution. In 1837, there was even a proposal to turn it into a railway station. However, in 1842, the building was officially consecrated as a church. Beyond France, other neoclassical landmarks include London's British Museum by Robert Smirke and Washington, D.C.'s Capitol Building, originally designed by William Thornton and later expanded throughout the 19th century. The influence of the neoclassical era in academic art, originating from the classical fervor sparked by the discovery of ancient cultural relics. Neoclassicism spread rapidly throughout Europe, fueled by formal academic training, the meticulous efforts of artists, and the strong endorsement of Napoleon. With the rise of Napoleon's regime, the center of Western art gradually shifted from Italy to France. As French writer Théophile Gautier once remarked, "Now we go to Paris, just as we once went to Rome." Neoclassical artists expressed noble, honorable, idealized, and rational moral values through their artistic style. However, as the French Revolution dismantled the aristocratic regime and the country moved toward democracy, France experienced recurring regime changes, social instability, and disruptions caused by the Industrial Revolution, which replaced human labor with machines. Amid these transformations, public discontent grew, and self-awareness began to rise. In the realm of art, people started seeking spiritual comfort, and an artistic atmosphere emphasizing personal subjectivity began to take hold. In 1871, during the Paris Commune uprising, a red flag was raised atop the Panthéon. As the fall of the Commune became imminent, the rebels ordered the destruction of major landmarks across Paris, including the Tuileries Palace City Hall, and the Ministry of Justice with the slogan, I would rather see it die than let it fall into the enemy's hands. On the night of May 23rd, members of the Commune brought tar turpentine and other incendiary materials to the Tuileries Palace and set it ablaze. The fire raged for 2 days, completely destroying the palace. It was only on May 25th that the fire was extinguished by government forces and the Paris Fire Brigade. The flames also consumed the adjacent Louvre Flower Gallery and Marsan Gallery. Fortunately, the main building of the Louvre and the Carousel Garden, home to countless priceless artistic treasures, were spared. Thanks to that, some of the most important and irreplaceable achievements of human artistic civilization were preserved, allowing future generations to study, appreciate, and carry forward the legacy of classical art. However, influenced by the shifting tides of the era, many students of neoclassical masters and romantic painters trained in academic institutions gradually began to favor the expression of strong individuality. They leaned toward capturing psychological darkness and emotional ambiguity within their compositions. This romantic inclination, combined with the scientific advancements of the Industrial Revolution and the invention of photography, paved the way for the emergence of Impressionism in the late 19th century. By the end of the 19th century, French painters such as William-Adolphe Bouguereau (1825 to 1905) and Jean-Léon Gérôme (1824 to 1904) remained steadfast in their dedication to academic art. They found it difficult to accept the stylistic shifts introduced by the Impressionist movement. Bouguereau, who taught at both the École des Beaux-Arts and the Académie Julian in Paris, often emphasized to his students that one must pursue both beauty and truth in art, striving for perfection in every work. Bouguereau's paintings frequently drew upon themes from ancient mythology, featuring women, fairies, and rural girls in serene, idealized settings. One notable example is Song of the Angels, a composition marked by its precision and tranquility. The painting depicts angels gently playing music as they approach the resting Virgin Mary. Soft light from above, the angels' partially extended wings, their forward-leaning gestures, delicate fingers, and tender gazes all contribute to an atmosphere of musical harmony and maternal warmth. The peaceful care of the Virgin for the infant Christ is rendered with grace and serenity. Sadly, this pursuit of idealized beauty embodied in academic art and the neoclassical tradition was ultimately swept away by the wave of modernism that defined the 20th century.